If you just finished Blood Meridian, you're probably sitting with two feelings simultaneously. The first one is that you just read something genuinely important, and the second is that you have no idea what to do with it.
All right, Blood Meridian, let's see what all the fuss is about. Chapter 1.
This list is for that second feeling. These aren't just books that are similar to Blood Meridian in tone or in subject matter. Each one of them pulls a specific thread the novel leaves hanging. I'll tell you what each book shares with Blood Meridian. I'll let you know what it does differently, and whether it'll be harder or easier. By the end, you will know exactly which one to pick up first. Blood Meridian is doing something specific that not many novels attempt. It's treating violence as a philosophical subject, not a dramatic one. It's not asking how we stop violence or whether it's justified. It's asking what it reveals about us as humans, that it exists at all, and that we keep returning to it. The books on this list are in conversation with that question. Some answer it differently than McCarthy. Some refuse to answer it at all. None of them flinch. Let's start with The Road. The most common recommendation after Blood Meridian is McCarthy's own The Road.
Each day is more gray than the one before. It is cold and growing colder.
And it's correct. But not for the reason most people give. People say read it because it's more accessible. And that's true.
Doesn't matter. Where are you from?
But the real reason to read it immediately after Blood Meridian is that it's McCarthy's direct response to his own earlier argument. The argument in Blood Meridian is that war is God, that violence is the organizing principle of existence. The Road asks, what if you accepted that? What if you accepted that and chose to act anyway? The father in The Road lives in a world where the judge won. Everything is ash. There's no civilization, no law, no moral framework still standing. And yet the father still carries the fire, still protects the boy, still makes the choice McCarthy's kid couldn't sustain.
No!
Blood Meridian ends with a judge dancing. The Road ends with something that I won't spoil, but it's McCarthy saying something he couldn't say in 1985. Read them back to back. If you do, you're reading one argument across 20 years. So the second book is Moby Dick, and this recommendation surprises some people. Moby Dick was published in 1851, predates Blood Meridian by over a century, takes place on a whaling ship, not the American frontier. And it's the closest thing to Blood Meridian that American literature produced before Blood Meridian existed. Because Ahab and Judge Holden are the same figure. Both men of absolute conviction, absolute will, absolute refusal to accept any limit on their own dominion. McCarthy has cited Melville, and the influence is direct and it's acknowledged. If the judge felt like a figure at a time, too large, too strange, too certain, it's because he is out of time. He's Ahab transported to the Sonoran Desert, stripped of the one thing that made Ahab sympathetic, the wound. But one honest note, Moby Dick is long, and the first 100 pages are genuinely slow. But if you push through, I promise you that the payoff is total. My third choice is The Painted Bird, and this is a difficult recommendation for me. Not difficult the way Blood Meridian is difficult. Difficult in a way that you will need to put it down often and periodically. And remember that fiction is not reality. But I'm recommending it anyway. The Painted Bird follows a young boy, unnamed, dark-haired, moving through Eastern European villages during World War II. What happens to him is among the most brutal sequences in 20th century literature. This connection to Blood Meridian is precise. Both books use extreme violence, but not for shock, but to force a confrontation with what human beings are capable of in the absence of constraint. Blood Meridian gives us the perpetrators. The Painted Bird gives us the child surviving. Same darkness, completely different moral orientations. Blood Meridian asks what violence reveals about people who commit it, and The Painted Bird asks what it does to the person who survives it. And if you want the complete picture, you need both. Book 4 is East of Eden. And this is the counterweight. After Blood Meridian, after The Painted Bird, you definitely need East of Eden. Not necessarily as a palate cleanser, but as the argument from the other side. East of Eden is built around one Hebrew word, timshel. Thou mayest. The idea that humans are not condemned to sin. Not guaranteed virtue, but free to choose. The freedom itself is the point. Where McCarthy argues that violence is structural, Steinbeck argues that choice is real. Where the judge says war is God, Steinbeck says the capacity to refuse is the most human thing that we have. McCarthy and Steinbeck are in direct philosophical disagreement. Reading them back to back is one of the best arguments for why literature matters. You have two serious writers, both looking at the same species, and both reaching opposite conclusions. You get to decide which one is right. Book 5, No Country for Old Men, without a doubt, because I'm going to end with another McCarthy, because you have to, because I think this is the most honest recommendation on the list.
Wrong with what? With anything. Is that what you're asking me?
And because No Country for Old Men answers the question that Blood Meridian refuses to, Blood Meridian withholds moral judgment almost entirely. The judge makes his case. The kid resists it. Nobody wins in the argument. And that's explicit. The novel refuses to resolve. But No Country is McCarthy returning to the same philosophical territory 20 years later. This time with Sheriff Bell as the counterweight to Anton Chigurh. The question Bell asks throughout the novel, how did we get here, is the question Blood Meridian was asking all along, finally given a human voice and a human face. Blood Meridian is McCarthy at his most absolute. No country is McCarthy asking whether absolute is survivable. The answer is no. But he does let you watch someone try. So those are the 5. The Road for McCarthy's own response to himself. Moby Dick for where the judge came from. The Painted Bird for the view from the other side of the violence. East of Eden. This is for the philosophical counterargument. And No Country for Old Men. For what happens when McCarthy just lets someone survive the encounter. All 5 of these books are linked in the description through bookshop.org. And bookshop.org supports independent bookstores. So your money goes somewhere, in my opinion, as good. And if you haven't seen the full Blood Meridian breakdown yet, that's the previous video on this channel. It covers the judge's philosophy, the historical record behind the novel, and why the book is almost universally misread. There's a link in the end screen.